Hello, welcome to Policy Pod by LDA. My name is Matt Gauthier and I'm your host. This podcast aims to break down common trends, problems, and concepts in the life insurance market. We wanted to create a place where we could talk openly about the things that confuse both clients and advisors alike. On this week's episode, I had the pleasure of being joined by Brent Allen and Alana Riley from IG Wealth Management, alongside Barry Crowther, Charlie Conron, and Nik Fergusson. We delved into IG Wealth Management's evolution as an organization and explored the profound impact of digital transformation on financial institutions. Our conversation also highlighted the crucial role of tools, analytics, and continuous education in driving success and innovation at firms such as IG Wealth Management. Thank you, Alana and Brent, for joining us today. It's a really big privilege to have you here. So let's just start. Why don't you introduce yourselves? We can start with you, Alana, and just give me a little bit of background. How did you get here to IG? What do you do in your current role? And a little bit of background on you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Well, we're really excited to join you here today and passionate about the topic. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. As head of mortgage insurance banking here at IG Wealth Management, I lead our strategic direction and execution for these three portfolios to elevate our platform solutions and services, providing curated and innovative advisor experience to enable wealth planning for Canadians. So I'm really responsible for our strategic partnerships, such as our capital allocations, financial risk management, digital transformations, operating model, client experience, and of course, the respective business lines P&L. Currently, right now, IG holds over 374,000 insurance policies with a total face amount of just over $105 billion. So prior to this, I've had a long career in wealth management, spending over 20 years at the large FIs across Canada. And, when I think back to my early career as a financial advisor, one of the stories that really resonates with me was when a mother of two came into the bank branch that I was working at the time and shared with me that her husband had recently passed away unexpectedly. And she wanted to know whether or not there was life insurance on the mortgage. As she recalled signing those papers and signing yes when they took out the mortgage. And so, I can certainly remember at that time marching back to the filing cabinets. There was nothing digital, of course, at that time, with my heart, just pounding in my chest, only to realize when I got there to the file that the husband had canceled the policy just 2 months before, not really realizing, that may have been the priority to keep within their financial plan. I followed her journey over the next few months, which included selling the home, uprooting the family. And it was certainly devastating to see the impact of that, that had on the widower as well as her children. I think that was really the start of where I understood, that insurance protection strategies are really at the foundation and the heart of a successful financial plan. And so, to kind of bring all that back together, I'd spent much of my career passionate about coaching clients and our advisors, as well as now our mortgage insurance and banking team members, that the work we do really truly makes a difference. We help clients sleep at night, and the right plan can have lasting effects for generations to come.
So my path's a little bit different than Alana's journey. I started at IG 20 years ago, right out of university. I came out of Western with an administration and commerce studies program. And I wanted to be a financial advisor. I wanted to help people save for their financial future. I wanted to help them educate their kids. I wanted to help them retire comfortably and make sure that the money outlived them and they were able to achieve the goals that they had. So I started as an advisor in Guelph, Ontario, built a practice there for over 3 years. And then said, okay, what do we do now? I had a good solid client base of over 250 families, but most of them were young and they were putting away money and they were saving aggressively 10% of their incomes. But when you're in your 20s, you're typically dealing with people 7 years older or younger. And as an advisor, and when they're younger, it doesn't help at that age. So I thought, well, maybe I should look at management and helping to build a team at IG. So I became a division manager at that time, which is much like a player coach. I brought in a number of advisors to the firm over 4 years, trained them, mentored them, and helped them grow a business. And that was very exciting. From there, became a regional director. Today, they're called regional vice presidents in London, Ontario. Moved my family. Thought that's what I would do for the next 25 years of my life. I could impact 200 families or 250 as an advisor When I was a division manager, I was impacting, 1,250 to 1,500 families. But as a regional vice president in the city of London, I could impact 10,000 families. And I thought, now we can make a difference in the community that we live. We give where we live. And that was really exciting for me to help, 40 or 50 advisors build their practice at a greater level. Did that for 4 years. Then the company decided we're going to go on a journey of private wealth management. And I moved entirely to corporate at that point, became the vice president of private wealth management for IG, started that up from scratch with 3 other senior leaders of the firm. And today that's grown to over 300 advisor practices and over $40 billion of assets under management. So very significant when we look back at that 10 years ago from when it started. And then from there, we got a new CEO, Jeff Carney, and he put us on a path of transformation, which will shape a lot of the conversation we have today. And that was an opportunity to really whiteboard what the future could be. And that's pretty exciting. And things that weren't broken, we broke. We decided to rebuild them in a better, more modern way. And we did that for 5 years. And now my current role is head of strategy and business operations. And that's really supporting the operational side of the business for advisors, everything from real estate for 112 offices across the country to advisor compensation, advisor technologies. The chief product owner reports into me for our advisor digital desktop. We have a small strategy team of 4 that really looks at the future. And we look at all the opportunities that we can put in place for advisors to bring the best experience to our clients. So I spend a fair amount of my time thinking about the future and where we're going because I've got some great leaders that run the day-to-day business at IG. So thanks for having us today. We're looking forward to share the journey with you. And I know we're going to learn a lot in today's conversation as well.
Awesome. You both have very rich backgrounds of how you got here. And it's really awesome having guests on that have that background of just different touch points and having to work with, like you said, you hitting 25 families or 50 families and how that scales to the impact you have on the community in your different roles. We're also joined today by Nik Fergusson, the Director of Enterprise here at LDA, as well as Barry Crowther, our CEO, and Charlie, the President. So it's going to be a good conversation. So let's go on further then into IG's evolution. You talked about your transformation individually, but let's talk about IG. From launching the first mutual fund in Canada in 1950 to your first international fund in 1962, obviously, things are a lot different than even going back to the filing cabinet to pull a policy out and seeing what was on it. So let's talk about that transformation, how you have seen transformation, especially more recently, and what that impact is going to be looking like and what you're trying to accomplish at IG with this.
When I look at the transformation that's happening right now, each and every year in our business as a whole in wealth management, it almost looks to me like 5 years that we would have, over time, over the past, 20, 25 years. It's just the impact of change, the pace of change, the digital technology that's coming, is first of all, just amazing and fantastic. But, for some, it's also there's a lot to keep up with. And so, I think Brent and I work very collaboratively together to really understand what tools are out there, what is best in class, what is going to really enhance our advisor, both from a client experience, but as an advisor client experience, we serve them as our clients internally as well, to really help them. We all have the same issue and it's not enough time. So what are the tools that create capacity, operational efficiency, personalization? We want to have bespoke client relationships that we're really serving the unique needs of each of our clients, and having improved technology and digital tools can really start streamlining that process through digital platforms, being able to look at different trends. There's so much advancement that's happened in just such a short period of time. And you had said in terms of the filing cabinet, oh my gosh, when even on the mortgage side of the business, as an example, we recently partnered with a fintech company in the past couple of years. We rolled this out. We looked at the mortgage journey that we had at the time, and at many organizations, it was legacy system on top of legacy system. And when we looked at the end-to-end journey, there was 38 different parts of the platform to be able to do a mortgage end-to-end. And so, now I think clients want to go online and they want to be able to see the journey. I call it the skip the dishes approach to the mortgage application. They want to see the house moving along. it's a stressful time in ownership, and they want to understand, where am I at? What is happening with my file? When will it be approved? And to be able to partner with different fintechs has really been an opportunity for us. We're almost a 100-year company. We're really proud of the success that we've had over the 100 years. We have great talent and expertise. But at times we can't move as fast as some of the amazing fintech companies that can really bring in that level of expertise and experience. And oftentimes, the collaboration is amazing, whereby, like we can work with advisors day in and day out and say, hey, you know what? These screens or this part of the program isn't necessarily working as we would really like it. Might be something else, and you can change it on a dime, where, for some of us in larger organizations, it would take a lot longer to be able to introduce some of that. So anyways, I want to save some for Brent, so I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, just building on Alana's comments there. IG's been in the financial planning business since 1926. We've only been in the mutual fund business since the 1950s, launching Canada's first mutual fund, the Mutual of Canada. Our view is the products will change and come and go. If you look at the services back then, it was a very heavy savings, loan, and mortgage type business. And today, we have over $120 billion of assets under administration, just at IG alone. And so, for us, we're rooted in financial planning. The products will change. We're changing with them, whether it's ETFs or whatever, then private assets or whatever it might be. We're confident that we can change with it. When we think about the future and why we want it to change, there's really 4 things a financial advisor needs to be thinking about for their business. One is comprehensive planning. The second is client service excellence. The third would be business development or finding new clients, and then managing portfolios or asset management. And if you think about in the future, which of one of these will be commoditized or most probably intercepted or interrupted or even disrupted by AI, it's likely the asset management piece. Having a portfolio that's created by technology will remove common biases of advisors, whether it's home country bias or stock overlap, just fundamental construction issues that you see, knowing that there's 140,000 people licensed to sell investments across Canada in the various forms. And so if you're going to say, how do you add value in the future as a financial advisor? It's not going to be through investment management. It's going to be through comprehensive planning. It's going to be through client service excellence, and it's going to be finding new ways to get your message out to new clients. And if that's where we know things are going, it's also a way that you can actually prove your value. So, Vanguard did a study, Morningstar and others, we did one as well, on the value of a financial advice. You can end up with about 300 basis points of additional value per year on average, just by doing the right things with a planner and sticking to the plan. And that could be taking advantage or full advantage of your work group plan and making sure you're not leaving money on the table. It's making sure that you have assets in the right location. How many times do I see a non-registered account and it's like, well, where's the TFSA? Well, we haven't got there yet. It's like, well, you're just donating $1,500 or $2,000 of tax a year to the government. You could be sheltering that. There's leakage there. Rebalancing a portfolio while the markets ultimately decline, which they do at some point almost every year. So taking advantage of that, whether it's tax loss selling, taking care of income splitting. There's so many things that a financial advisor can do to add value beyond portfolio management. And we're looking for partnerships and tools and a platform that allow our advisors to focus on those 3 things, which is planning tools, client service excellence, and finding new clients. And part of the solution we have here is on the financial tools that we're trying to give our advisors. And we want IG advisors to the best overall tech stack in the industry, which is an ambitious goal, considering where we started from, because we underinvested for a number of period of years. But now that everything's in the cloud, it's modern, and they talk to each other through APIs, you're able to send information very seamlessly back and forth. And really the future concept is based on the imagination of the firm and how they want to display this information to advisors and clients. So, there's never been a better time to be at IG with regards to where we are. And I'm pretty excited where we're going over the next 3 to 4 years.
And you guys have recently onboarded several enterprise technologies. And, obviously we're talking about tech in this podcast. So, we're obviously very pro technology. A lot of the true value of the technology is not the solution itself, but really how it's used by the advisors. Given advisors are such creatures of habit, do you have any advice or some kind of secret that you would offer, maybe another distributor listening or someone maybe struggling with their own transformation challenge in terms of not just selecting technology, but actually implementing it and rolling it out at scale?
What I think about if you're undergoing a new opportunity, first of all, if you're a technology firm, just keep reaching out as much as you can to the leaders that you think might be interested in your product or service, to those that need it. My view is start with yes. So you never know what you're going to find. We don't ultimately adopt most of the technologies that come forward, even though many of them are good ideas. We do have our priorities like any other business. But if you start with yes, and you take those first 15-minute calls, not a long one, just here's the problem we're trying to solve. We think we might be able to help. Are you interested? You're going to find that there's a lot of executives that will be open to that if you just make enough approaches at the end of the day. So make sure you do that. And as executives, if you're listening, take those calls, because you never know what you're going to find, including the opportunity that we had with LDA. 3 things you need to have a successful project in my view. It has to be a win-win. If you help us solve a problem or grow our business, it's going to help grow your business. And so you should always be starting with a win-win conversation. If we do well as a firm and our clients do well, then your technology company is going to do well. Second, communication. Nothing is worse than spinning on a deal. Whether you're an executive listening or technology, just be upfront, be direct. Here's what we can do today. Here's where we think we can go tomorrow. Let's save each other a bunch of time and just say, we can't do this, but we could do that. And I think you're going to find that you'll find a way to prove out the value over time, and you can build that into a bigger business case. So candid communication both ways is key to efficiency, but also managing expectations. And then you need engaged leadership. You need people that are willing to lean in on both sides. You don't want a story that starts with, we had a great idea, we launched it, and now we don't hear back from the executives and no one's adopting it on the business side. And you don't want to deal with a technology company that sets you up, builds you, and then vanishes either. And the good news is, I would say the significant majority of our partners are ones that have leaned in. And at the end of the day, we end up having personal relationships with the leaders of these companies. Not only do we celebrate successes of the business together, but you get to know them as people, and then you'll do more for each other at the end of the day. And so, to the extent that you have consistency, the companies that have worked best is where there's low turnover when you have the senior executives or the account managers that are working with you, because you build those relationships. The ones where you see them leaving on LinkedIn every 6 months, it's like, I've now gone to this startup and I've now gone to this startup. Good on you. I hope you make some big bank and bags of cash, but it just killed. You're starting over from the beginning. So consistency is really important to having a good experience as a vendor to the ultimate business client. And that's what we've seen. Our best relationships, the people that we started with 4 and 5 years ago, are the same people we're dealing with today. And that really builds confidence on the business in so many ways. But Alana, do you want to talk a little bit about maybe just running a big project? Because you've had a couple of these big fintech ones to revolutionize the business. And then we'll talk a little bit about adoption, how we handle that.
Yeah, I think since I think you teed me up for a few of the challenges, it's so funny as I've gone through a few of these, whether it's our equity ownership, agreements that we made or a commercial agreement, and the negotiations between term sheet to an ended deal, you think that that's the work. And, what I realized is that's just the start of the work. And as many hours as we spent in all of those, deals, get them to the finish line, then the project truly starts. And so, I would say that, in some of these massive projects that we've undergone, it all comes back to the right change management strategy. So I think Charlie hit the nail on the head, even with the question, some people love change and some people not so much. And then you're going to have all people on the spectrum in between to really kind of bring them along in the journey. And you're right. It's not that our advisors don't love change. It's our advisors are really busy doing a lot of things in a day. And so to take the time, they really need to understand, hey, what is the value? What value add is this going to be for my client and for my business? And if they don't see that, well, then the adoption, it's going to be a lot longer of a journey for sure. So I'd say, definitely an organization with a robust change management plan to address that. What is the clear strategy? What are we trying to accomplish? And from top to bottom, right? Our CEO, Dan Murchison, has been an amazing supporter with the insurance business, all of our business, but insurance specifically, so that, there's no one in our organization that doesn't know that this is something that we're passionate about. This is something that we want each and every Canadian family to be able to be presented with, the right option and solution for them. So it starts with him. It comes down to the rest of the executive leadership team. And so I'd also say that, really building a culture of innovation and openness, and encouraging that, cross-functional teams, because even though I'm a business leader of mortgage insurance and banking, I can do 0 projects without every other business leader. I can't do it without Brent. I had a strategy and operations. He's glued to my hip. My IT partners are glued to my hip. My finance partners, because I'm always coming to the table asking for money, are glued to my hip. And so I really think just working in collaboration with your other partners, both internally and externally, is really part of the success. And then, just continue. And like I would say, the evolution of the customer feedback. And that goes back to whether it's our advisors, whether it's ourselves, staying really closely aligned with the partners. Like Brent said, I think that's where we've had some of our greatest success of building personal relationships so that we know that the success of this project is all of our success. And there's no I in team, as they say. So there's always lots of work to do when we roll through these.
Can you talk a little bit more around the kind of the attraction and retention of advisors within your organization? And it really appears to me you're modernizing IG, and how it's perceived in the marketplace that also impacts, your advisors and your customers. So in terms of attraction and retention, can you talk to that?
I can kick it off and then hand it over to Brent. But, I joined IG just over 6 years ago, and my first role was the Senior Vice President for Western Canada, leading the distribution team. So, obviously a key role was attracting new advisors and certainly retaining the advisors for Western Canada. And, I would say I'm just so proud of where we've come from in the short 6 years. And I think a fundamental piece of this I always share is that it started with a name change. And I know that sounds really silly, but, we had this great foundation of being Investors Group. And Investors Group was a mutual fund company with long history in the Canadian marketplace, serving small communities across the country, being deeply rooted in the communities in which they serve. Insurance, by the way, was a big part of that. Some of our advisors joining at the time, back in the day, that's where they started, their business off, because, we uniquely had advisors who also carried their insurance license at the time. And where I see this morphing is, we began to switch from bringing on, I would say, homegrown advisors where, we had this really robust ability like Brent to turn him into a superstar, take him right out of school and, through training programs and through support and uniqueness of our model, we're able to create the success of these individuals growing over time. And to this day, we have, part of why I love IG is, we have advisor practices that, some of the family members are 20, 30, 40 years into business. So they're, bleed blue, as we say. The big change for us when we changed into IG Wealth Management was really fundamentally changing who we are. And really that was not only were we going to continue to serve those clients, but we really took a family approach, an entrepreneurial family approach to say that, we are going to serve Canadians. And sometimes the case of, I always use my own family as a great example. Unfortunately, this past year, my story has changed because my almost 103-year-old grandmother died. And so she passed away in January, which, but when you look at that, you have, 4 generations of a family, right? I have a 103-year-old grandmother. I have baby boomer parents. I have myself as a husband, as, executives and busy traveling. And then we have 3 kids, and then we have 1 with special needs. We are like the epitome of needing financial planning, right? So, it's complex. We have, intergenerational wealth transfers happening. There's just so much to do from a financial planning perspective. And so we're proud at IG that we do that financial planning. We have more financial planners than anyone else on the street. And we do that complex planning that requires in-depth level of knowledge on tax and estate and intergenerational planning. And, how we're going to build out your portfolio is just one piece of it to make sure that, we're really truly looking at the holistic plan that we have. So we fundamentally changed from, that focus to really doing complex needs for high net worth Canadians. And so I think because of that, because of the tools, because of our transformation, because of who we are, we're attracting larger, bigger books of practices. Advisors are seeing us as a destination. And there are some proud moments for me over the past few years where, early on, I had people reaching out in the industry saying, I never thought of IG Wealth Management. And now I just see person after person transitioning and being recruited over to IG. And I finally, I'm calling you to say, what the heck is happening over there? Because obviously there's something good, because lots of people I highly respect are moving over, and I want to have that conversation too. So it's exciting. And sorry, Brent, I probably went on way too long, but that's such an exciting question for us.
Yeah, it's not just, 80% of our new hires today have industry experience. So we still bring on some people and train them, but often they're brought into teams and mentored, and they start as a financial planning associate or as a client service associate, and they build up their skill level through mentorship, which we think is great. The other part too is just new client acquisition. 1 out of every $4 today comes in from clients, new clients over $1 million. That's significant. That number is up over 400% over the last 5 years. And so that's we used to be $1 in $8 or $1 in 10 even. And today it's 1 in 4. And then they're really going to go to 1 in 3, I expect, based on the trajectory we're on in a very quick time period. And so, it's exciting to see that our advisors solve complex problems, Barry. And when you have 4 generations and you have some wealth and you have multiple properties and people are working longer and they're half retiring and cost of living's gone up, that's good for us. The complexity in the Canadian tax system and the complexity in people's lives, and the ability for people to say, I don't want to manage it, I just want someone to look after it for me, means that we've got a great opportunity. And one of the things, unfortunately, that you hear about, Alana was the Senior Vice President of Western Canada. Myself, when I was a Regional Vice President and VP of PWM, the number one complaint we got from clients in the industry is never performance or fees. It's client service. Like, people need to do a better job maintaining relationship with their clients. And so to the extent that we can help and support that, whether it's through our new segmented advice model, whether it's giving them tools and nudges to say, hey, it's time for your meeting, or we can proactively give advisors information on changes on, say, investment risk ratings through client-focused reforms, or for your software, you can remind people a renewal's coming, a lapse just happened. Like, that is valuable information for advisors, and it makes a difference to clients so that they're not in a position where Alana talked about earlier, although it was canceled intentionally, sometimes policies get unintentionally canceled through lapses or bank accounts change and people don't realize the payment bounced and they've moved and there's a bunch of issues. So the fact that you can help and support on the client service side is a big piece of the puzzle moving forward, because the people that do the best client service ultimately get the most referrals. And then, it doesn't matter what the net flows are in the industry, you're going to win business from your competitors if you do the right thing and you provide the most comprehensive plans.
I'm just going to jump in here, Nik. You worked with IG first. You brought them in with a small group of advisors into the LDA platform. And we've recently announced cooperatively that we have a partnership with IG to bring LDA to a larger section of the advisors at IG to help with that. Now, Nik, what was the transitionary period between you realizing this small group of advisors, we can expand this, and then having those conversations with Alana and Brent to say, like, hey, this is an opportunity for us to work together to help with this digital transformation?
It was over a long period of time. I feel like I was a bug in Brent's ear for probably a year and a half before things kind of started to materialize. But I think that's the nature of timelines lining up correctly, and the right message comes through at the right time. I actually remember the email I sent, and then things just started to move beginning of 2022. And so it nice to kind of get then connected into the line of business with Alana and start to really dig in and understand what was fundamentally changing and shifting in their business and where they were trying to go. And then, of course, just hang on and do everything we can to support that initiative and make sure that we come alongside that. Actually, I have a question for both of you, too. Since the rebrand, there's been kind of a monumental tectonic shift in, like we said before, the perception of what was Investors Group turning into IG Wealth. So a lot of change comes with that, both from a perception and kind of visibility standpoint, but then also at the ground level, like in the field with advisors. I'm interested to know, both of you having been there a good chunk of time, what does that look like, both in the profile shift of the business, but as well from the kind of prototypical advisor, now that all those changes have come into place, specifically that investment into technology and kind of what role that plays there? Because it feels like technology has always been an important part of that. But at the same time, I think what's been highlighted here a number of times is the real inherent value of advice, something that's inherently human that can't necessarily be replicated with technology. So I'd love to get both your take on that, kind of having unique perspectives on that.
Yeah, I think, when we think about our 100-year anniversary coming up in 2026, we're pretty excited about it. And we respect the past that we talked about, the foundation of this firm and the IG name and Investor Syndicate before that. But IG Wealth Management was truly to signify to the community that We are rebranding to a new company, and we're making the hundreds of millions of dollars of investments in technology, client advisor experience to prove it. So we respect the past, but we're embracing the future opportunity, and we're working our plan from there. I think people often get confused with project management and change management. And when we were talking about it earlier on how do you actually deliver at the end of the day through that monumental change, because 5 years sounds like a long time, but when you say it's 60 months to move everybody from embedded to fee-based, to go from commission to asset-based compensation, to redo our entire mortgage system, to move everyone from client name to nominee, 1.8 million accounts, to go through updates of KYC in the industry, client-focused reforms. There are so many. One of these things would have been a big, we went to soft phones. We got rid of our entire phone system in the company. We only use Microsoft Teams as our phone lines when people call in, and your phone now travels with you, good or bad. It's on your cell phone, it's on your iPad, it's on your computer. But it took people a long time to get kind of used to, cutting the cord. So project management is one thing, change management is another. Project management is you decide you're going to get rid of soft phones, and you put a plan in place to say we're eliminating phone lines or moving to this system. And then someone's going to deliver it and say, great, 4,000 people now have access to this through a virtual desktop. And then it's like, yeah, but they don't take responsibility for the training, the coaching, the ongoing adoption of it. And that's where the trick happens on the magic happens on change management. And so when you think about change management, there's a process out there that, we try to make a good plan and execute it really well, then come up with a perfect plan. And then it's so complicated that no one gets it. So a good plan starts with ADKAR. If you're familiar with process management or change management, and ADKAR is a proven system that stands for awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. So you just start out and say, hey, we're moving to soft phones. That's awareness, well in advance. Let people know change is coming so they can get kind of used to it, and you can highlight the benefits, but also some of the challenges. Candor is important. Desire, here's the benefits you're going to see. And then you talk about A, B, and C. And if you can show them, or you can create some advocates by doing a small pilot, that'll help you, because then you have provable points of value that you can say, this small group of 100 or 200 or 300 people tried it and they love it. Talk to them. Knowledge, that's great that you've created the awareness, the desire, but if I don't think I'm skilled to be able to do this, I'm going to have anxiety. I'm going to be nervous. It's not going to work. So then you have to give me the ability to do it, which is sometimes you can launch everything at once. Sometimes you got to go in waves, and that waves could be, 4 groups or 6. Sometimes you have to go office by office, person by person, and it ends up being 16 or 20 weeks. But you have to think about getting people the abilities. And then after all that's done, it's reinforcement. Just reminder, giving people the option to learn. And if you use that model, you're going to get 80 to 90% of your change management right. Everything falls off on ability and reinforcement. It's easy to tell the story. It's easy to get people awareness. It's somewhat easy to post an article on knowledge or here's a video. But the ability and reinforcement, if you're not getting the pickup on whatever technology that you're deploying to your field, to your advisors or employees or whatever you're doing, it's ability and reinforcement. 90% of the time, that's where it's falling down and breaking down. And so that's how we navigate 10 massive projects in a short period of time. Because 5 years, like I said, it sounds like a long time, 60 months, and then divide that by the number of weeks. It's like, you'd never even try to put a plan in place, but because you just did it and you didn't think about it, it's easy to look back and say, well, that was a bit crazy. Probably push the envelope on how much people could retain, but we got there. And I think if you take no off the table and optionality, that's the other thing we do too. Here's a lesson. Close the back door. Don't say, hey, here's your old financial planning software, because we changed that too. You can keep it or you can go with the new one. You know what's going to happen? No one's going to adopt the new one because it's easier. As opposed to, hey, you know what? Not only did we not let them keep the old one, we didn't migrate their plan data either. We said, here's the deal. You got to go see all your clients. This is how you're going to learn the software. We'll migrate data into the plan that we know that is 100% true, like their investments here, the mortgage balance, insurance policies, what have you. But we're not going to take other data that you had because it may or may not be right. And what happened? Business goes up double digits for that 18-month period as people are seeing people. It's amazing what happens when you get out there and do it. So, be bold. Anytime you leave a back door, optionality, you can keep the old, try the new, you're not going to get it. It will be painful for a season. And sometimes they last a month or 3 months. Other times it's a year, but this too shall pass. Honestly, not that we wouldn't do anything different.
Backgrounds. One of the things I think is pretty unique is that you both come from the field. Do you think of yourselves versus your peers? Does that give you, are you at odds in your approach to evaluating technology, given that you have more context actually having done it, or what does that look like behind the scenes?
Yeah, I'll keep it short and then go to Alana. I think it does give us an advantage. I think that if first of all, what's your perspective? Are you B2C or B2B? My view is I'm here to serve advisors. I'm their client. Then they will serve their clients ultimately. So if I listen and say, what do you need? What are your pain points? Then it already puts us in a stronger position because you're actively listening to the people on your team that tell you what they need to be successful. The second thing is you got to find technology that works like how advisors think, right? If you ever download an app on your phone and there was instructions, like more than 3 screens of like how you use it, you're just going to delete it. You're not even going to try. So if you open up LDA, or you open up a new financial planning software, you open up the mortgage applications Alana's talking about, it better work and think like Amazon, Scoop, Uber, Skip the Dishes, like things that they do every single day. It has to be intuitive. So one of the things in your example that I liked about the software is I didn't need Nik to give me a demo. By the time we talked for the first time, I'd already been in there and played around. I'd already created a whole bunch of illustrations. I'm like, I'm good. I see the value. Like I get it. So having been an advisor, I can quickly get to the value versus Nik saying your advisors are going to see this or that. And, there is some advantage for us having it, but it wouldn't be without me saying, I've heard multiple times, Brent, it's been 10 years since you had a license. So as much as I came from the field, I'm the old guy and I'm 43. So we'll see kind of how that works out. But yeah, I'd say it gives us a strategic advantage. But if you're not open to listening, it doesn't matter your experience because you're gonna miss the mark. Alana?
Yeah. What I thought of was, and hang on to your hat here for a second. My dad worked at Ford Motor Company for 35 plus years in Dearborn. And when I was a teenager, I really wanted a yellow Corvette convertible. So I was like, you really put like that. Like, this is going to be the car of all cars. I want this Corvette convertible. And Brent, you're going to own me a ride in your red one, I believe, that you have today. But he always said to me, I cannot drive the Corvette and park it in the Ford parking lot. And so the reason why I share this is that I think fundamentally you have to be a client to understand what it is we offer and how we offer. So I would say that's like first step is, for the love of God, be a client to the firm you work at, right? So that you can understand, how does my app work? How do I make money? How do I deal with my advisor? What does my plan look like? All of those things, like I fundamentally say to my entire team, it's not mandatory, but it would really, really help you understand what it feels like to be a client if you are a client. And second of all, of course, I know we're all shareholders. So, further to Brent's earlier comments, we're excited about our path and where we're going as an IGM, as a company as a whole. And so I think it's important to be a client. And then would totally agree. Like, I think being able to, have that background from being client facing, understanding an advisor's perspective, really, I always say like at the heart of it, you also have to be passionate about our clients. And so sometimes I do see that certain team members where maybe they've never been in the field, and that's okay, but they do need to get out to a region office and spend time with advisors. And by the way, I'm not just talking about IG. I've spent over 20 years in big banks too. Like, you actually have to go into into these different offices, spend time with advisors, listening, learning, hearing feedback. Especially when you're launching these complex digital IT, like it's all goes back to like, let's sit down in small groups. What's working? What's not working? There's differences. So I think that it's really important to be able to do that. But I also think fundamentally, like you have to have a passion for the client. And that's, I think that's when you started and you were raised in the advisor space and started your career there, that like you actually have to be passionate about the client we serve. And that's, I think that's just the part of all of our success.
Yeah. And that's important. Like, you want to have that view of what the client wants. Like, for me personally, I just actually went through the process of buying life insurance for the first time. And I went through that process so that I could share light on how that works, because obviously, like, you see it as an advisor, you see this process day in, day out, but to actually see it from what the perspective of the client is feeling is completely different situation. And like, that point of view is very important. So Barry, I'm going to toss a question your way. We work at LDA. We've historically worked with carriers, MGAs. How is this partnership with IG different as a wealth management firm? And what excites you about bringing them in and having that partnership and working with something that's not typically in the stack we've been working with in the distribution chain?
Well, I think it's a good question. I think we're very focused on the wealth management space because and I know Charlie, believes this passionately as well. From a life insurance needs perspective, everything should start from a plan. And that plan is your wealth management plan. So what are you trying to achieve, or what's the client trying to achieve in their holistic wealth management plan? So working with a firm like IG, who has that strong focus around a holistic view to wealth management, is very important to us. Charlie, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I'd echo too. One of the things I think the common themes when we talk to you folks is that, we really, even though we're, our primary focus is serving the advisor. So the end person who uses the product is the advisor. Our organizations are really all about the client. And when I think of, why LDA was created, it was that same sort of experience Alana had. I was looking in the filing cabinet for my stepfather going, you have 800 clients. You have no system to organize the renewals on in-force policies. You have nothing to automatically quote and present this opportunity that, again, a financial product that people just don't take advantage of. So, we really, although we think about sort of all those different layers of distribution from the agent, MGA, wealth management firm, all the way up to the insurance carrier, the true focus of LDA has always been around communication to the consumer. You don't know what you don't know. And if we could communicate in a more effective way using technology, we found, one, we were able to sell more, but the true benefit, as we all know, we all talk about, is that, more Canadians are insured. We see this trend of declining policies and, increasing debt. So we know there is an issue out there with the middle market. And, again, a lot of advisors do focus on a high net worth, and we really see a place for technology as I know you guys do to, bridge that gap. Which actually sort of makes me think of another question, more focused at Alana, just given, we're talking about a holistic view of IG. You see everything from mortgage, insurance, banking. Can you talk about the pace of technology at each of those and maybe, share some frustration? Is it frustrating that each of those entities are going to be moving at a different pace and trying to align them and stick to that vision?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm an optimist. So I see things as opportunity, not necessarily the challenges that lay in front of me. But I think, one, I would say the great news is it's like I said, it starts at the top. And so, for us, we've had, in this shift over the past few years, brought in some really, really great talent. So one would be James O'Sullivan, who is our CEO of IGM. That works obviously hand in hand with our CEO as well. We're both passionate around building out the portfolio that we have. And so, I think it's really interesting, well, there's three separate business lines. There's obviously lots of overlap between them, Charlie. And so, and by the way, we are, constantly, like similar to Brent, like we are future looking every single day with all those business lines, particularly on the banking side. I think there was a big fundamental shift during COVID. And so, COVID ripped the Band-Aid for the way that we approach financial services for all of us. It was like, when we look at, and Brent can certainly share some of the success that we've had from DocuSign as a good example. We were just named the #1 firm worldwide using DocuSign. We're so proud of that. If we would have had to go through a change management process with each advisor, like Brent said, and in your own due time, figure out when you want to use DocuSign, it would have taken us years. But guess what? All of a sudden, they woke up one morning and thought if they wanted to sign clients up for any new product, they needed to use DocuSign and they need to learn it overnight. And now we're #1 in the world for using the DocuSign, and as well as, saving some trees along the way, which we're so proud of. That would just be one example. But, in terms of banking, same thing. Clients used to think that they needed to go into a bank branch to solve all of their banking products. And then now you see all these different fintech firms that are popping up. You see the banking as a platform, banking as a service, lots of different fintechs coming into the market. And so we're really excited exploring different partnerships along that front. And then, certainly on the mortgage front, as you know, we're in the midst of a huge transformation and a digital journey, but like it does all go back to, really having that unique experience of, people want to be able to, one, go to their advisor and have that one-on-one personalized service. But at the same time, hey, I want to also pull it up on an app on the weekend and see what the heck is going on and, be able to do the transactions that I want to do. So, it's interesting, twofold, I'll say. One is kind of going back on the insurance front. When you look at the transformation that we had post-COVID, there's always this great Libra survey, and I know you guys would be aware of this too, that 30% of the Canadians from this household said, hey, we're underinsured and we need more insurance, which is almost 5 million Canadian households. So we have 5 million Canadian households telling us across Canada we need insurance. And that survey that I love also really showed like the difference of what was important then versus now. So pre-pandemic and what happened in the shift for Canadians. And, before the importance pre-pandemic, their finances was literally rated 52%. Post the importance today is 75%. Physical health was 53%. Now it's 75%. Making a difference was 31%. Now it's 46%. So you can just see this, like family was 49%, by the way, and now it's 83%. So this huge transformational shift happened during COVID, obviously worldwide, but for Canadians, which shifted the way that they want to look at their finances, how they engage with their advisors, how they engage with technology. And so I think for us, it's really exciting just to look at, all of those services as a whole to be able to truly provide a holistic plan.
Why don't we switch towards the future now? So we've talked about your transitioning now. We've talked about the past and how you've come from where you were to where you are. Where does this go in the future? Where do you see IG going in the future and what you want to provide for your advisors and everyone, I guess, in the entire infrastructure at IG?
Yeah, I think when we think about the future, you always, if you're doing a strategy piece of work, you want to think about where you're going to be about 5 years out. Anything more than that, things will change too much. Anything less doesn't give you enough time to execute the now, next, later. And so you want to be thinking 5 years out, where do we want to be? And then try to stay on that as you move forward. So the first thing you do is like, what's the industry going to look like 5 years from now? And how do you want to be well positioned to compete? We feel there's 6 industry wealth drivers out there that will fuel the overall growth. And the firms that are best suited to meet these 6 wealth drivers are the ones that are going to win business because they can solve these problems. So the first wealth driver is tax planning and optimization. Canada is one of the most heavily taxed nations in the world. 8 provinces have highest tax rates, over 50%. That doesn't include the consumption taxes that we have, doesn't include your property taxes, doesn't include the increased capital gains that's potentially coming. So we know that there's opportunities in tax planning and optimization. Second is retirement readiness and peace of mind. 5 million Canadians are expected to retire over the next decade. How do you do that? Well, having the proper insurance coverage to make sure that you or your family or your loved ones get there is going to be really important. 3, wealth transfer and estate planning, critical. More than $1 trillion will pass in the States over the next decade, it's expected. And that money will be put to work by the next generation or the services that people lead them to and community programs. 4th is small to medium enterprise monetization. 75% of small and medium-sized businesses sell for over $2 trillion likely over the next 10 years. And that is going to put new money in the system that isn't there today. So most of the small business owners in Canada, which is most of them, as far as business owners go, 75, 80% of their wealth is tied up in their business. Once they sell it, they need to turn that wealth, the $3, $4, $5, $10 million into an income stream. And that's going to be new to them and they need help with that. High net worth financial literacy, people that have significant wealth have a very difficult time talking to the next generation about it. So I'm not talking about, dollar cost averaging and basic budgeting. We're saying like, how do you talk to the next generation about the wealth and the good that it can do and how you expect them to manage it? Only 10% of families really feel comfortable having that conversation. And then the final piece, number 6, is philanthropy and legacy planning. About half of all donations in this country are made by those 65 and older. Of the 11 billion in charitable donations in 2022, according to Canada Stats, StatsCan. And so those are the things that we're thinking about, Matt, is how do we put either technology in place? I'd like to have a fintech partner for each one of these, if it exists. And if not, we'll put a partnership in place. So as an example, if we talk about retirement readiness and peace of mind, that's having the best financial planning software out there. We got it. We talk about wealth transfer and estate planning. Well, this is where LDA comes in. You can give us the tools with our humans that Alana has for our expert estate and technology. We'll put it together with our advanced financial planning team. Small to medium enterprise business, we launched private company advisor.
Yeah, I would just jump in to say that, in terms of the future, first of all, it all comes back to AI. right? Like, how are we using different tools, different analytics, just the significance in the data analytics that can, and within the digital transformation, or even just within life insurance, let alone, of course, all of our business lines, really to be able to leverage that data and enhance our operations and our customer experience. And so, again, when I look back a few years ago, everything was rear view facing, right? Like, as a business leader, great. I just get a report on my last quarter earnings, and I'm looking at 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago. Now everything we're doing is completely shifted to, where are we going in the future? We know already where our pipeline is. So you're managing the business in a completely different, more proactive way than we ever have before. And so I think hand in hand with how we're going to use AI, how we're going to use these tools, really it will enhance the fact that we're really proud of the fact that we're focused on customer segmentation. And we, for the first time, launched an independent, separate channel than we have before. And we have over 300,000 family groups now in a corporate channel. We have a IT advisor servicing those clients that have certain needs, and a Wealth Connect channel for certain other clients. So, we really now try to look at our family groups and understand who are they best served by, and free up the capacity for our advisors who are doing complex planning, need those tools and need that time. And so I think that really our future will be continuing to enhance this customer segmentation, targeting those, specific clients with needs, bespoke specifically to them. And I think just certainly as an industry as a whole, we can't not talk about the fact that, risk management, fraud detection, all of that is going to continue to be a huge part of our business moving forward. From the, the app, the text messages are, people, like grandparents are receiving, and oh my God, my grandson needs money. I better send it now. No, you don't click the link. So that's from this most simple form to, corporations, like, fundamentally, it is a big area of focus. And, that's another benefit of being part of a large organization. We have, risk management teams and IT teams that they wake up every morning, and, that's their job to worry about this and make sure that we have the best systems and best partnerships in place. So I think the future is going to continue to be focused on risk management strategies, fraud detection. I think pricing optimization, I think that's going to be something that we all continue to, customers want to know they're getting value. So that's why we're really excited to partner with you, because I think that tool is already, really helping us present that to our clients, and it's exciting. Lastly, I would just kind of say underwriting efficiency. When you go, sure, high net worth clients, it's going to take longer to do complex, large cases. But on the other side, there's going to be, we talked about, we want a 5-click solution. We're working closely with our carrier partners right now saying, we want to have something approved in 60 seconds or under, because you should have, by the way, all of the data already to be able to help us make some of these decisions, timely, quickly. And, I think that all of those kind of just boils down to all of that will then impact our customer experience enhancements, really, like around how do we have personalized, tailored, recommended solutions, efficient services, better customer satisfaction, deeper loyalty, because of what we're able to offer to clients. And, I'll maybe end where I started is, I think with all of that, we can provide that, then we're helping our clients sleep at night, right? That's our job, to be able to provide them with the products and services that will build a financial plan that allows them to not worry. Their future is going to be safe.
Yeah, AI is a huge topic every time we bring up tech. Is obviously it's becoming more and more present in all of our society. And I've had conversations with people where they're like, "Oh, it's going to replace jobs. It's going to take jobs away." It's like I akin it more like to when we switched from the yoke to the tractor. Yeah, those ox and horses lost some jobs, but it made our job way more efficient working with technology along the way. And as you're expanding, you've mentioned both now, you're expanding into different areas and launching new venues of your business. Are we going to see then an expansion of your shelf and adding more products to the shelf to fit in as more opportunities arise as we adapt going forward?
Yeah, I think two things. One, in 2017, we actually folded up our investment management shop. We had a proprietary IG investment management with over 100 employees, fund managers, traders, analysts, the whole deal for running money. And we decided, you know what? No one team can actually get the best talent in the world. You just can't afford it. And they don't all live in Toronto, Winnipeg, Montreal, or Calgary, Vancouver, where financial markets are typically concentrated in this country. And so we decided to actually just move all that up, fold it up, and we went to an entirely sub-advised model. We now manage one fund internally, which is our real property fund, and we own hundreds of buildings. And that for obvious reasons, we kept it. Everything else, we said we're going to go to a sub-advised model. We went out and signed up 20 sub-advisors across the globe and said we want to find the best of the best. We're going to find and hold people accountable for performance. And it's better for us to do it that way, because if we need to make a change in manager, which happens infrequently, but if we have to, then every single client that's invested in that fund will see the new manager come on, the old manager leaves, and you treat everybody fairly, and nobody gets left behind. And so for us, we think it's just the most democratic way to manage money. It's also the most objective, because if they're not doing the job based on the criteria we all agree to at the product committee, we just put them on a watch. And if they don't improve, we come back and say, we've searched the universe for the next best talent. And this is how you can put an all-star team together of managers, by doing a sub-advised route versus doing it on your own. And so we think from the wealth side, we're in a good spot. We spend a lot of time in the client-focused reforms. We think a managed shelf aligns most closely to the CFRs. It says the dealer has a responsibility to approve every product on the shelf, and the advisor has a responsibility to know the products that are approved. It doesn't mean you can't accommodate, which is what we do when we have industry advisors and they already own something and there's a capital gain. No problem. That's why we went to nominee, and that's why we license over 2,000 advisors for ETFs, and we have dozens of approved ETFs on our shelf now. But all our advisors through IG University get product training. We have an annual product training course that's multiple hours long. It's like a 50-question test at the end. It's hard. Like, we intentionally don't make it easy because it's important to show you're complying with those client-focused reforms and you're monitoring those products as well. So on the wealth side, there's thousands of mutual funds, over 1,000 ETFs now. You can't just say, hey, 81102 is entirely approved and everyone's good. Like, I just don't think that meets the spirit of the reforms, and we take it seriously. So that's why, we spent the time and money. If it's the hard thing, it's probably the right thing. And that's the approach that we took. And we also believe in managed solutions. Like, at the end of the day, our managed solutions is 80% of what we do today. And this is professionally managed discretionary portfolios that you delegate so you can focus on value-added activities of financial planning. So that's that. On the insurance side, we're absolutely looking at expanding our opportunities there. But Alana, do you want to talk a little bit about because of our model shift of 80% of people coming into the industry, we have to get beyond just the handful of national accounts we have today. And those are important partners. I'll just say this, even if we do expand the shelf, we're also trying to expand the pie, right? If the business today is 100 billion of face value, can it go to 300 billion? Everyone's going to get more. Plus, if there's some new people, they're going to get some too. So if we do this right, no one should lose. So we should be a win-win-win across the board, which we talked about a little bit earlier. But Alana?
Yeah. Maybe it's first, I'll just back up here for 1 second to say, again, I think, like, when you ask the question around what is the future for advisors is not sitting at their desk picking stock. That is a dying breed. If individuals still think that they're going to be able to pick those individual stocks and add portfolio, that's just not going to exist in the future world of investment and wealth management. And I always, use the story that, we shifted to be able to partner with, like, the best of the best. When I think of BlackRock and PIMCO and other partners that we've aligned ourselves with, I always use the story that, BlackRock leverages a satellite in the sky who can determine how many clients are going in and out of the Starbucks up the street to project quarterly earnings. And based on that, they'll determine whether or not this should be in a portfolio or not. I don't feel an advisor on an individual basis is going to have the time, technology, or a skill set to be able to compete, and be able to build those managed solutions. So at the heart of it, we feel that we have 5-star products on great product shelf, great lineup. And so whether it's on the investment side of the business, the insurance side, the banking, mortgages, every day we have, team members waking up, determining what is the future of the product? What do clients want in the future? How are they going to simplify it? And Matt, it's funny, I'll go back because it's dating myself, so I hate to do it. But in my first job at the bank, we would have customers coming in because we were giving them playing cards, ATM cards, right? And clients were saying at the time, are you sure you want to give us a client card? Isn't this going to just work you guys out of a job as customer tellers at the bank? Like, why would you want to give us client cards? And now it's funny because if I stand in a line and somebody pulls out a debit card instead of using tap, I'm so frustrated. So it's like, it just continues to morph to change the business. But, I think for products or whether it's insurance, we're absolutely going to be continuing to expand our shelf, look at new carriers. We do that on a regular basis. And, I think that, we're aligned with the best now, but there's always opportunity to improve and do more. And so it's not just a matter about the products, but how do we deliver those products? And so the technology behind that, I think looking at InsurTech, there's still lots of improvement for us to get real digital, in terms of some of the data feeds that we're getting from carriers, our back office needs help. So we look forward to continuing to partner with many fintechs to come to solve for a lot of those complex solutions. So there's exciting days ahead, that's for sure.
Just to tap into that a little bit. So any advice that you have for LDA and or your other technology partners on what should we be thinking about in terms of how we service an organization like IG?
Yeah, so maybe I'll just jump in and then tap it back over to Brent. But, I think we've been really excited to partner with you. And I will share with you, by the way, that there was a group of our top advisors that were all together recently celebrating their success. And some of them were in our initial rollout and others were not. And as soon as some found out that, they now they're all want this. So the good news is that your demand will continue to grow as our advisors understand the power of this tool. And so, we look forward to that. But it kind of goes back to some of the project management best, tool, best practices, so to speak, that Brent and I spoke about earlier. And it's, we look forward to working closely with you. And that's, working closely with our advisors. They're our clients, listening to what they have to say, what's working, what's not working. You can be much more agile than we can. When you said, it took a long time, but a year or a year and a half, I thought, wow, that's like lightning speed for us. So, it's, we look forward to being able to make changes faster. And so I think LDA can really help us with that. So you can be out there understanding, what is our competition doing? What are they doing and helping us? I always say it's a rising tide lifts all boats. We're really not in competition with anyone else in the industry. We want the entire industry to continue to provide better financial planning outcomes for Canadians. And if we need to learn from others, in the industry of what they're doing, we're happy to, adopt that and head down the path of market standards and continue to make enhancements. So we look forward to working with you and continuing to change the industry as a whole.
Yeah, and I just say, advice and things that we look for is we wanted to have fewer but deeper relationships, Barry, for the number of providers. One of the things Alana talked about was the complexity of having all these technology systems stitched together. So can we have fewer but deeper relationships? That also means the relationships we choose, can they talk to each other? Canada's in a great spot on fintech innovation and our ecosystem. When we look at, we have a related stake here in Portage, 3 Ventures. You also have Sagard, who's doing things with Diagram. It's pretty exciting how they incubate, where they go to businesses and say, hey, you have a problem. What are you trying to solve? Let's go find some founders. We'll build a company and we'll do it. What I found is great is we've started to bring on these partnerships and all of you are talking to each other. Like that gets really exciting to me because today through secure APIs, if you decide to build those bridges, whether it's with a financial planning software or it's with a illustrative tool software on wealth, the financial planning software will say you need a 5% return. Well, how do you get it? And by the way, you need $1 million of life insurance. Well, then you have to go get the products. Well, there could be a natural link there to feed that in. And then, the simple quote comes up, but it's for all 3 or 4 companies. And then how do you present it? Well, no one's kind of taken all the presentation tools and shown it in one spot. Well, the wealth presentation is being done anyways. Do you build that in and say, well, here's the mortgage solution from your fintech mortgage. Here's the investment solution that they have. Here's the insurance solution. And, it can all work together conceptually, but the data needs to talk to each other. I think we're closer to that than ever before in this country because the small companies here that are disrupting are also winning the majority of the share. They're taking out these larger companies, many of them owned by private equity, and thought it was easy money with recurring revenue. It's like a royalty because no one's going to disrupt them. And that's not the case. And so I think the relationships that you have with these other owners and founders in this country and the United States and elsewhere, there is no bridge in fintech as far as boundaries boundaries geographically. Like that to me is the key. Can we keep smaller but tighter relationships? And to the extent they can talk to each other, whether we stitch it together from your information and theirs and we put it, or you actually build a bridge and now it becomes a bit of a combo play, or value add for this. Yeah, you have ours, but if you can add this on, that really just makes it seamless and easy. And then it also insulates the long term, because the pain of switching has to be greater than the pain of staying. And to the extent that, you build this ecosystem where it's all connected, it really does insulate you long term into saying, okay, now we have a strategy that you just can't move away from. We're going to work with you if there's any pain points along the way, which, right now we're quite happy. So I think that's the key, is just know the other partners that are in this ecosystem. And if you build each other up, it's a win-win-win for everybody. I want to applaud your team for solving, a complex issue in this industry. And it's not just about providing illustrations. Like insurance, at the end of the day, Canadians are underinsured. They do not have enough coverage. Half of the people in this country, if they missed a paycheck for whatever reason, they lost their job, someone passed away, would be functionally bankrupt. Like it doesn't have to be that way, especially on term insurance and life insurance. It's relatively inexpensive, especially the younger you get it. It's a selfless act. You don't buy it for you. You buy it for someone you care about most. And Canadians are underinsured, and they underestimate the time frame they need it, right? Like that's the thing, is they never think about the next house they buy, or the cottage they buy, or the third kid they didn't plan on. Like your software, what I love is it shows you, here's an example, the 10, but the 20, but the 60, term 65. Like it gets you to have the conversations you need to have with your clients so they can make a better, more informed decision. And I think that's the most important. I've had the fortunate and unfortunate privilege of delivering death claims to clients for policies I've sold. And I had one happen last week. Advisor reconnected with me and said, Brent, you sold a policy 19 years ago to this family when you were in Guelph. And it's unfortunate that she passed away. The kids are the same age as mine. They're sort of 10 and 6. And what was told me on the phone was the kids are going to be okay. They're going to stay in school. The home they're going to stay in. And the father has the option of retiring now because they have 1.6 million of savings with no debt. He's 47. And the fact that when you're an advisor, you're talking to your clients, you're saying to them, Charlie, it's unlikely you. Like I'm going to have this conversation with every one of my 250 families or 400 or 1,000 or whatever you're serving. And it's unlikely you. But at the end of the day, at the end of this year, at the end of next year, or sometime in the next 5 years, I'm going to get a call because someone of this 120, 250 people will have a heart attack, stroke, get cancer, pass away, have a disability. The only way I can protect everybody is to have the conversation with everyone. And so to me, when you make that call and say you're going to be okay, and I've had to make it multiple times, just focus on you, your family, your healing, your well-being. You don't have to worry about the money. There is so much peace in that, and you never appreciate it in the moment. I'm not afraid of making that call. I'm afraid of what Alana talked about at the start, going, there isn't a policy. I didn't do my job. I didn't make the offer. That's your job. If you're in the life insurance industry, you have to talk to everybody that you run into and make sure they're covered. You can only offer. If they don't want to accept it, then, it will be what will be, but at least you tried. And that was always my view of insurance, is you have to try. Otherwise you're letting yourself down, and you're letting the industry down, and you're letting Canadians down. And so good on for you for building a technology that helps us do this.
Yeah. Much like the medical field where Canadians are underserved with family physicians, I think the mid-market is underserved with financial advice and financial advisors. And we truly believe there's a huge opportunity there.
I think I saw an article in the Insurance Journal last week that was talking about the spectacular results that pet insurance was having. So this whole renaissance, this market is up 400-ish% or something roughly around that. And does that mean people love their pets more than their family? It struck me as something that I think, that mentality around that awareness of how valuable the product is, I always think about it too. It allows you the freedom when you have that permanent policy to say, I actually can spend my money in retirement and not necessarily worry about it. The freedom even while you're living can be enormous as well.
Yeah. Like talking about debt and estate taxes, it's not sexy. Like nobody wants to talk about, let's talk about your will. Let's talk about you not being here. It's something that actually gives lots of people anxiety to even have the conversation. It's not pleasant, but, further to Brent's great points, it's a conversation that we owe to our clients to have.
So my favorite comment as an advisor who used to sell insurance because it wasn't bought, to your point. We had to bring it up. But we were direct and said, this is part of your financial well-being, and we're going to have the conversation. Inevitably, somebody would say, I don't believe in insurance, right? And the best response to that is, that's okay. It's not a religion. Like, you're good. Like, we can still talk about it, right? Because like ultimately, like that's going to come up, right? I don't believe in insurance. No problem. It's not a religion. Like, you know, my friend Carl says that all the time. And he's a senior vice president in Quebec. And I just died laughing the first time I heard that, like 15 years ago. And when he was a division manager too and running a region. And so that would come up invariably in conversation. And it's like, you have to reframe the message. Like you can't stop when someone's going to give you that objection or the brush off. It's like, just move out of the way, let it over your shoulder and tell them we're going again. So, you know, I think it's, you know, car insurance, home insurance, people only buy it because it's mandated and they don't have a choice. You know, it would be nice if they had a family that came with it too on the life insurance, and that's how you should treat it. It's not optional. You know, and the cost is very small. It's pennies of the dollar for peace of mind. And I think, you know, I'd encourage anyone, if you don't have a policy or it's not up to date, you listen to this, like reach out to an advisor or anybody here. We can get you connected and just make sure your family's taken care of. You'll sleep better at night.
Especially if you're an advisor in the industry. And we've seen that a few times, people in the industry that don't even have their own policies.
It's every industry. You look at, you know, you get a doctor and sometimes they're, you know, for whatever, anyways, like not just because you're in the profession doesn't mean you follow the advice, but I think that the best advisors lead by example. And I couldn't agree with you more, Matt, that that's exactly, especially if you're an advisor, you need to take care of your home first. You got to eat your home cooking, put it that way.
So speaking of home, I'm curious, both of you are in charge of transformation and technology and obviously are, you know, invested in this and you enjoy it. At home, are you guys digital first adopters or more analog?
Oh, I'll just jump in first and say digital all the way. Like if there's not an app for it, it doesn't exist in our world. You know, we have like our Apple Watches ding me when I'm in Toronto on business that someone's coming in my front door or they're coming in my backyard or they've gone through the garage or my fridge is open or my dryer is turned off. Everything that we have is now linked to an app in our world. And yeah, I love it. I couldn't even imagine going backwards, you know, as a busy executive professional who's traveled across the country and all over, you know, oftentimes, you know, I love being able to sit on the tarmac and order groceries to be delivered to arrive at my front door or transfer money to my kids who that's the only time they reach out now is, you know, when they need money transferred because they're off at university. So like, I can't even think of the ways that, you know, we continue to evolve from a technology perspective. It's exciting. I love it. Bring it on. And now the whole AI, oh gosh, it's just fantastic. I'm excited about it every day.
And it hit me at home, Charlie, when I had the uncomfortable situation where neighbors like, can I have access to your Wi-Fi? I don't mind if guests, like people to our house have access because then they leave. Right. But now it's like, are you just streaming off my Wi-Fi to save a buck? Like you're literally over the fence. And I didn't know what to say because they're out by your pool in the back. Right. So then I'm like, I'm going to change the password. Like maybe that's just the best way to deal with this. So I did. I changed the password from our Wi-Fi to whatever. Oh my goodness. I had no idea the amount of stuff that was connected, like sprinkler systems in the front yard, the garage door code. All of a sudden our washer and dryer have notifications. We have a front door, our Nest doorbell, our Nest thermostat. We have a fridge that apparently will notify me when things are empty, although I haven't turned it on. We have like 6 Alexas around the house, 1 in every kid's room, plus 1 in the main floor, basically just to call them for dinner. The pool heater, like whatever, like I bet you, I had to go around and I'm never doing that again. Like I'm just going to buy a separate guest Wi-Fi. Like that's how to the point I was beaten down. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just get Bell and Rogers here in London and I'll just have the Bell from my neighbors as a backup. And then I don't care. And then Rogers is for me and my family. Like that's like, it was to that point. I'm never doing this again. Like, cause plus all your, like, we had something like, I don't know, we have more screens. Every TV in the house that's smart had to be reconnected. Every iPad, we have more screens per person in this house. Like, I think our average is at 2.3. It's ridiculous. Like, I I got 4 in front of me right now as we're having this conversation. It's totally unnecessary. So yeah, like you gotta, I gotta embrace it. The message is think before you change your Wi-Fi password, because you're going to have to write off the weekend and getting everything fixed.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you very much, both Brent and Alana, for joining us. This has been a great conversation. And I think I speak for everybody when we say we're really excited about the partnership we have, and we're really excited about expanding this and bringing and seeing where this partnership goes and how we'll be able to help each other through this. So thank you very much again.
Excellent. Matt, Matt, Charlie, Barry, and Nik, thanks for your time today. Thanks for being great partners with us. And we really enjoyed the conversation. So thanks again so much.
Are you tired of paying for leads that just don't deliver? Say goodbye to ineffective lead generation methods and discover the power of LDA Lead Gen. Transform your website into a powerful lead generation tool and start capturing high-quality, tailored leads today. No more paying for each lead. And LDA Lead Gen is a cost-effective solution at only $20 a month on your LDA subscription. Your prospective clients will start by filling out their name and where they live, as well as why they're trying to find insurance, whether that be having a baby, buying a house, going to school, or cottage succession. After this, LDA will notify you of the opportunity and will provide a tailored presentation as a starting point for the conversation with your new prospective client. If you want to learn more information about Lead Gen, go to www.lifedesignanalysis.com/lead-gen. That's LEAD-GEN. As I wrap up this episode today, I want to thank Brent Allen, Alana Riley, Barry Crowther, Charlie Conron, and Nik Fergusson for coming on and sharing their valuable insights. Together, we explored IG Wealth Management's impressive evolution and the transformative impact that digital tools and technologies, as well as analytics and education, have on driving success and innovation in the financial sector. We hope that you found the discussion as enlightening and inspiring as we did. Before we go, I want to tell you that if you've never tried LDA for yourself, this is the time to do it. Go to www.lifedesignanalysis.com/sign-up and get a 15-day trial, no credit card required. That's www.lifedesignanalysis.com/SIGN-UP. We started this podcast to foster conversations that matter to you, our listeners. If you want to be part of the conversation, please reach out with a topic that you want to discuss or have discussed by emailing us at marketing@lifedesignanalysis.com or connect with me, Matt Gauthier, on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and I look forward to talking with you again in our next episode.